Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Now, Brian has written in and said that verbal stim script behavior pattern is occurring frequently now and impairing and preventing interaction. My 5-year-old ASD son has taken to constantly, without stopping, 30 to 40 minutes counting. 100s, 1000s even is okay, but he jumps into sequences of millions, billions, trillions, Google and zillion, onto creating his own. Recently, he went from prep time for out the door to reach summer school, constantly counting, going through breakfast, teeth, socks, shoes, into car, trip to summer school, arrive at school without stopping as he went into the open area alone. This is impairing and will make learning in the classroom not possible and not acceptable. Any input is valuable. And that he will also reach out to us. And I feel like he said further down, ABA was great for him early at 18 months, in home and daycare, and later very valuable in his pre-K up to age 4. Everyone should know the value of ABA outside home in the pre-K social setting without mom and dad. And guess what? It was a load off of us. But this counting, I think, is very concerning to Dad.
Please don't be concerned, first of all, because I actually see this as a wonderful thing.
Okay. Don't we like that?
Yeah. I have seen a lot of kids who are like this, and it's actually a skill. It's a savant skill. It's a very, very, I had a child who used to count every single thing. Oh my God. And initially it was like it would drive us crazy, right?
Right.
But we got to the point, we did a number of different things. We, first of all, taught him how to just like spend a lot of time, doing things other than counting. And it was just any activity like narrating something like, I am coloring, this is the color blue, whatever it was, because while he was narrating this other activity, he couldn't count, right?
Ah.
And so we then, let me tell you, it was hard because he saw patterns that we didn't see in his environment, and it was almost impossible to stop him. For instance, if he was in this room, he would have counted all the tiles on the ceiling. Yeah. He would have counted the doorways. He would have counted the boxes on the walls. He would have everything. And over time, we got him to the point where he would count in his mind. Yeah. But it was really, he was very smart. Kids who are number kids are extremely intelligent, and he learned how to, he still does it to this day. He was at my house a couple of years ago because his parents are actually friends of mine. And he was at my house, and he's so good at, like, he masks it now because he's so super genius. This kid, by the way, like, was one of those kids that could recount the number pi all the way, 500 digits after. Right. But so he's so smart because he knows that he's not supposed to be counting all the time because it takes away from his social environment. Right. But he does still, but he does it so quickly, and he kind of puts it away and continues to socialize that, he came in and he was like, do you know that your pool is like, 200 and something inches, which is really the same as, and he had counted it. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's still doing it. But our kids learn, and that is just a brilliant thing. And I would recommend to you that you actually start looking at, and I don't know the age of the child, but 5.
He's 5.
You should probably get him, first of all, I would start by getting him tested. I would definitely do an IQ test because you're going to want to identify his intelligence quotient right now. And it's going to be pretty high, and it's going to be skewed. So you'll see that like in certain types of activities that have to do with measurement and or counting or things that are ordinal and, he'll do extremely well, and in other areas he'll have a little bit of a dip, right? that will give you a cue as to the types of things. In other words, don't focus on having him not count, but focus on teaching him other things, because the counting's always going to be there. As long as he is able to do other things, then what you're going to have on your hands is just a genius who will be able to do math very early on, will be able to excel. I had a child who at the age of, I think, 9, had finished college level math on the Khan Academy websites. In fact, introduce him to those types of websites and places where he can use his mathematical skills and see if he's going to excel in that area. Sometimes our kids just need kind of a little boost to be able to go as far as they can in that area of strength. In the meantime, fill him with other types of activities. And if the counting out loud is annoying you, teach him to do it in his mind. There's a whole lesson that we do about, saying versus thinking, so that our kids realize that they don't have to count out loud, even if he's counting in his head. It doesn't have to be out loud. And once it's not out loud, when you start to interact and put other types of demands on him, he will stop counting in order to respond to those other demands. So it'll become a natural process of, he'll realize, I have to keep up with all this other stuff. I can still count in my head, but I can't when they're putting all this other stuff on me.
Okay. And Dad wrote in some more, and hopefully you've answered for him some of the questions that he had here. He said a good thing, a question mark. He says, why would it go on for 30 to 40 minutes? Hopefully, based on what Dr. Grampiche said, you got some insight into that. And he says he whispers it silently on the playground and home. And he says, interesting. He says
He sees patterns we don't see.
Yeah, he says he is super smart about math, measurement, etc. And he's already passed addition, subtracting into fractions and exponents.
There you go. And he's 5.
Yeah.
So you can't stop certain things. Like, think about it. We talk about musical geniuses like Mozart, right?
Yeah.
And they were writing symphonies when they were that young,
Yeah.
right? And that's because they could see patterns that the rest of us don't see. Our brains all work in different ways.
Yeah.
And he is seeing patterns in his environment that to you and I don't look like a pattern.
Yeah.
But when you see that many patterns, it's a pretty natural thing to start actually counting them. Like, I will tell you, like right now, Shannon, I see those diamonds on our wall, right? And which are soundproofing things. And because they are only 6 of them, I can immediately see them, and the first thing I'll do is I'll count and I'll say there's only 6 of them.
Right.
But if there was like 200 of them, to me, it wouldn't be countable anymore. Yeah. But to our kids, and this might be a good question for Temple when you see her, because she always talks about seeing in pictures, right?
Yeah.
And I think our kids are able to do these things. That child that I was saying who was 9, who had finished like the Khan Academy stuff, Dad would show me crazy things that he could do, where like you would take a pile. I took one time a pile of marbles. I took it out of one of these bags, right? Yeah. I just took a handful and put it on the table, and it was a pile. So it was almost impossible to count because it was a whole pile.
Right.
And I said, how many are there? And he immediately said something like, 36 or something like that. And I counted them, and there was like 24. And I said, why did you say 36? And he kept looking because the rest of the pile was in the bag. And he'd also counted what was in the bag, right? And so that would be impossible because like it was just virtually impossible to count that. Yeah. But some of our kids can do that because they do see patterns that we don't see. And it's a skill.
When I first met Temple, one of the first things that Temple did was told me about Khan Academy. And she said, I'm going to tell you, she asked me a bunch of questions about my son. And she said, and I said, my son is just doing horribly at math and I don't know what to do. And she said, I'm going to guess that your child hates baby math. And he's beyond that. And she said, get him on Khan Academy and suffer through the baby math. Don't worry about it. And we did. We got him on Khan Academy, and I sort of let him self-direct. And what he self-directed to was doing animation, coding for animation, which is math. And it's all about coordinates and moving them. And then he went from there to doing his own animation. But what was fascinating to me, you know, as parents, we always go, we just want to be able to open up our child's head, take a tour, and like get in there and see what it is. Well, it was a few years ago that for Mother's Day, my husband and my son just overwhelmed me, and they gave me all these gifts. They brought a breakfast in bed, and it was all these gifts and everything. And then at one point, my husband showed his phone, and he said, "Oh, we also got you this." And it was a photograph of a man holding all these kittens.
Okay.
Like a whole ton of
them.
Kittens. And he goes, "We got you a bouquet of kittens too." And he just flashed the picture at us and put it away. And then later in the conversation, I said something like, "Oh, and you know, and you were going to give me 32 kittens." And Jem turned and he said, "Oh no, there were 26." And I said, "Are you serious? There were 26?" And I said, "Are you saying that because you're guessing?" And he goes, "What are you talking about?" "No, there were 26 kittens."
Yeah.
And I said, "Get the phone out." And he had only flashed it at him for a second. We looked at it, and I said, "Get the phone out, get the picture up." And then I went through, and I enlarged
Counted,
it, and I counted, and there were 26. And I said to my fully verbal son at that point, "How did you know there were 26? And he's like, "How did you not know there were 26?
Yeah.
And I said, no, I want to know how. And he said, "Oh, my brain takes a picture of it." And he
then you can count.
"And then I can move them to the side
And move it,
and he can do it like that." And I
love
said,
that.
"You can?"
Yeah.
And he said, "You can't?"
Exactly.
And I
love
said,
that.
"No, I can't
love
do that.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?" And I
It's
thought,
incredible.
wow, that's that thing that I always wanted to know. And he was able to explain it to me now.
I love
And
that.
that he can do it at the speed of lightning.
Yes. And what an amazing gift, right?
Oh,
and especially
yeah.
what a gift in this day and age where we are heading into the, you know, artificial intelligence and data and computer science and so much more than we ever did before.
We need these kids.
So we need these kids. And, you know, I've always said it's amazing that society is also changing in a way that a lot of our kids will have a place.
Yes.
Because they are going to be the geniuses that can
Yes.
manage this kind of stuff.
Yes. So, Brian, the responsibility is to build the world around him so that he has a place for that. That's going to be a
right.
different, but I think maybe the less fear that it's weird and that it's going to hold him back, but you got to find the path to let him flourish.
Absolutely. And then when you do, it becomes, you know, when we're doing these activities, you can count. When we're doing these activities, you have to talk. When we're doing these, and it just starts to kind of divide, but he's getting now his outlet.
Yeah.
He's able to, and he will have his social world there as well, I promise you.
Yeah. And of course, the movie that comes to mind with our fabulous Joe Mantegna, who is an autism dad searching for Bobby Fischer,
Yes.
is about when you have a child that's a genius and can see things that you can't see.
That's right.
And it's a big responsibility. Anyway, we're out of time, and I didn't
can't
get to all
believe
the
we're out of
questions. I
time.
know. And we could stay here another hour, but I love you all so much. I'm sending a particular hug to our dear friend Christina, who had written in and said how much she's missing her ABA and how people don't know what they have until they lose it. And sending you hugs. I hope you get a break really soon. And to everyone else that we didn't get your question, thank you so much for being here. And also for noting that I believe it was yesterday that was actually the 32nd anniversary of ADA. But somebody is saying it's today. I'm going to check that, but I thought it was yesterday. But celebrating the Americans with Disabilities Act. And,
What an amazing
and
thing.
for anybody that lived in a time before that, you know, we are blessed to have that. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here. Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time on autismnetwork.com. We hope to see you there.